Little by little we have seen videos and many posts about the new comic book created by Amy, the actress who plays Kimberly, the Pink Ranger from Mighty Morphin. For now, what we know is that this saga is going to be called The Return, and it will be about the Mighty Morphin team. The story will be 22 years after this team manages to defeat Rita and Lord Zed, although we have not been told how many years it took them to defeat him. This is why it is very difficult for us to know the age of these characters after those 22 years have passed, since they could have taken little or a lot of time to defeat these powerful villains. Another thing we know is that in the future Jason is going to be a lone hero, and the other Rangers are going to try to find him to give him important information. In the new images, they show us some things that are going to happen with this character, but we will see that later in this video. Something very important that we have been informed is that we are going to have Olivia Hart, the new Green Ranger, and the one that possibly is going to be an important piece in this story. Although everyone has mentioned that she is the daughter of Tommy and Kim, there really is no official confirmation, and that's why on this channel we have created some theories about this matter. The reality is that Olivia could be Kimberly's daughter, but she could also be her sister, or she could even be her cousin, since this new Ranger carries the same last name as her and not her father's. These are obviously theories that possibly have a very simple explanation, but you always have to see both sides of the coin, since if there is no official information, then anything can happen in these fantasy stories. This saga is going to have 4 episodes, which basically means that they are going to be 4 comics, but we still don't know if they are going to publish them all together on the same day, or if they are going to publish them on different dates. The comics of the main story publish 1 episode every month, but because this is going to be a special saga, we don't know if they want to do it differently. Something important to remind the fans is that this saga is not going to have any connection with the other stories we have seen or read, since it is an alternate history. This means that the creators of this comic had an impressive freedom to be able to write this story, since they are not tied to events that have already happened in any other story. With this great freedom, we can understand that anything can happen in this comic, and that is why many fans are excited, because this could be the beginning of an alternate universe that could have very different stories. When I say this, I mean that they would not have to use absolutely nothing of what has happened in a TV series, and they could create a new universe. It's basically the same thing they want to do in the reboot, but in this saga, it would be with the original Mighty Morphin team, and this is what makes it more exciting. You have to remember that the advantage that comics have is that they don't depend on actors or a big budget, so they can create the characters they want, and they can also open their imagination as much as they can. In this occasion, in the new images they have shown us that this very thing is what they have done, as there are some pretty impressive details that give us a great preview of what this new Power Rangers saga is going to be. Before we go any further, we must say that all the weight is going to fall on the writers of the story, as we can see that the core idea of the saga is perfect. They have had the most freedom that any creator can have, and on top of this, the comic art looks awesome. If the story is good, then this saga could become one of the best we have had, and this is too much, as the stories they have created in the main comic are very impressive. Having said all this, let's start analyzing the new pictures that have been published about this saga, and this is the first one. According to some pages on the internet, these images are supposed to be from the first episode of this saga, and this should be one of the first pages of that comic, or at least it should go before the next pictures that we are going to see later. In this picture we can see that the Rangers are escaping from the moon, and then a big explosion happens. When I saw this picture for the first time, I thought that the moon had exploded completely, but later we can see that only a piece of it was destroyed, and that is why I knew that this picture goes before the others. Something we should mention is that here we can't see the Green Ranger's energy, and this can mean many things. Maybe at that time Tommy didn't have his powers yet, or maybe all this is happening in the future and Tommy doesn't have powers anymore, or he is not alive. You should be aware that in this comic we are going to be talking about the past and the future, since everything is going to be divided in the moment when the Rangers are fighting against Rita and Lord Zed, and 22 years after they defeated them. The second writer of this saga said that he did not like to release spoilers, but this image was of the Rangers escaping from Squat's place, and this may mean that this image is from the future. On the moon there has always been the Bandora Palace, and if Squat is the one who lived there, then that means that Rita no longer exists. If this is so, then it means that Tommy could be dead, or he could never have the green power again. Let's move on to the next image, in which first of all we can see that the moon has a piece destroyed, as I had told you earlier, but also the command center is a bit shattered. All this lets us know that this image is in the future, and we realize that apparently Jason is having a fight with someone. With this destruction in the command center, it makes me think that Zordon is also gone, and maybe he lost his life too. Then we can see Jason pull out his blaster to start shooting, but this is not going to be enough. In the next image we can see a Jason with a lot of color, and I must point out that this drawing style is spectacular. I have been reading Power Rangers comics for a long time, and this has been one of the best styles I have seen, since it has a lot of depth, and it looks like a 3D animation. In this picture we can see the style that Jason is going to have as a lone superhero, which uses a cape and a bit of bandage on his hands. We can also see that the helmet is pretty battered, and the sword also has a bit of bandage on it. Even though Jason started firing his blaster, the enemy also shoots at him, but the impressive thing is that the colors we can see are pink and yellow. Obviously, we know that these are Kimberly and Trini's colors, but with what is going to happen in the next image, it makes me think that this villain wants to wipe out the whole Mighty Morphin team. In the last image we can see that Jason was hit by those shots, and we finally see the new villain of this saga. Because we can only see a shadow, we can't decipher much about this character, but either option is going to be shocking. If we get a villain we already know, then it's going to be shocking because we will know the powers of that enemy. If we get a new villain, then it's also going to be shocking because we don't know how powerful he can be, but with what he's accomplishing we can already imagine his power. When we look at the rest of the page, we can see that this enemy takes away Jason's power coin and leaves him powerless. Apparently, this is what he could have done with Kimberly and Trini, and that is why he was able to launch that yellow and pink attack. We all know that Jason has always been one of the most powerful Rangers, so, if this villain was able to take away the power coin so easily, then he must be someone very strong. Write in the comments if you like the style this new saga is taking, like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers comics.